Okay, now let's continue. We discussed a number of concepts about pricing strategies, right? Now the other options of there are varieties of psychological pricings include bundle pricing. So we charge two or more products or services with one price, okay, to be sold for a single price. Now, if you refer to businesses such as Telstra, for instance, they offer home phone, ADSL, and some cable TV services in one price. Okay, number of reasons. When they do that, they expect that they could preempt the competitors coming into that customers, or they also expect that they give the value for money impression. Okay, multiple unit pricing. So we normally the marketers in this instance pack a number of products, 2 or more units, and sell them for a single price. Okay, so it will be multiple unit pricing. And the last one is the everyday low prices. Now, Walmart is quite popular in terms of adopting the everyday low prices. So they set low price for products on a consistent basis. So they are managing the price low every day. Okay. And odd even pricing, that's one that we discussed before with the previous example, ending the price with certain numbers to influence buyers' perceptions of the price of or product. Of the price or of the product. Okay, customary pricing. It is on the basis of tradition. If chocolate bars normally charge at $5, so yes, it's hard for us to move from that customary from that tradition. Okay, and prestige pricing. Again, this is the illusion to create the prestige or quality image using psychological pricing. Okay? All right, so this is basically showing us the price adjustment strategies. Okay, you can also refer to this one: discount and allowance pricing. The marketers in here adjust the prices because they want to reward the customers for providing them with the a good term like quick payment or volume. Segmented pricing, they adjust the price to different customers, products, or locations. And we discussed before that pensioners, for instance, pay a cheaper price for train service or bus service. Psychological pricing, which is basically about adjusting prices for psychological effect. That's one that we discussed before the slide. And promotional pricing, we reduce the price temporarily to increase short-run sales. And if you go to Woolies and Coles, you'll find a lot of product running promotional pricing. And geographical pricing, adjusting the price to consider the different location. And guys, remember, the price that we set needs to cover the cost, and in fact we expect that the price exceeds the cost, otherwise we are not making profit. Okay, so one of the costs that we also need to consider is the distance from our location to the location of the customers. Okay, and that means cost to the business, right? So we need to consider that location as well. Now, there are several options in terms of geographical pricing. Some companies adopt a single pricing policy where they charge all customers from anywhere in the country with the same price. Or the companies may also adopt zone pricing. So they create zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3 as a benchmark to price. Okay, or the company may also adopt FOB, free on board. So they only deliver until the port, and after that the customers will pay the rest, including the transportation cost. Okay. And I'm going to move to the international pricing, which is quite similar. They consider the international market because it is driven by a number of issues such as the location of the customers, and also the purchase power of the customers, so they adjust that accordingly. And dynamic pricing, they adjust the prices to meet the characteristics and needs of individual customers and situations, which is this one here is similar to the negotiated price strategy that we discussed before. Okay. Right, so there are a number of prices that we discuss. Okay, so make sure you address that. Look at the appropriate pricing strategies in here. Okay, major pricing strategy includes cost-based or value or demand-based pricing strategy or competitor-based pricing strategy. And after that, you please also explain the priorities of the pricing in their operations. Okay, including the adjustment of their prices or product mix pricing strategy that they adopt. Okay. Right, now let's move on to placements. Okay, placements deals with two things. They are the things that we'd like you to demonstrate that you understand. Okay, the first one is channel strategy. Channel strategy actually the decision that the organizations must make in terms of the number of layers, number of marketing intermediaries for their product. Okay, the number of middlemen for their products. Okay, now if you look at this diagram, we have two types of customer marketing channel or consumer marketing channel. The other one is business marketing channel. Both actually show similarities in terms of number of layers. Now let's have a look at this one. Okay, the customer marketing channel here, the first one here is actually direct, what we call as direct marketing channel. They have no marketing intermediaries. They are actually adopting what we call as no middleman. Okay, so direct marketing channel. Okay, and the second and third basically are in direct marketing channel. So these guys actually has one layer, which is basically the retailer, and the next one is two layers, okay, before they meet the final consumers or end users. Okay, now it is also important to note that some businesses may adopt both of them. Okay, they may adopt both direct and indirect. Okay, if you look at Apple, for instance, they have Apple Store, they have online Apple Store where customers can place the order and they can ship the product directly to the customers, to the final consumers. Okay, on the other hand, they also have retailers such as JB Hi-Fi, for instance, Dick Smith, or telecommunication providers to help distributing their products. Either Vodafone or Telstra, you can buy iPhone, for instance, through the telecommunication provider. So they adopt both direct and also indirect. Okay. Right. The next thing that we need to discuss is the distribution coverage strategy. Okay, distribution coverage strategy is actually about the number of resellers, right? The decision about number of resellers, okay? If the previous one is about number of layers or number of middlemen, now distribution coverage strategy is about number of resellers, okay? Now we have three types in here. The first one is intensive distribution, which is basically using as many wholesalers and retailers as possible. If you look at fast-moving consumer goods, a lot of companies in fast-moving consumer goods, like Coca-Cola, for instance, adopt the intensive distribution. In fact, they make their product available in the vending machine, for instance, another kind of store, if you like. Okay, and the next one is on the other end, if this one here is using as many wholesalers and retailers as possible, on the other end we have the exclusive distribution, which is basically using one reseller only within a particular territory. Okay, so only one is assigned. Only one has been given the exclusive rights. Okay, in between we have what we call as the selective distribution. Okay, using the best available per geographic area. As a result, the company that adopts this strategy have several, right? Have several. Okay, and there's a tendency that if you refer to the product classification, shopping product may use the selective distribution, and specialty product, which is basically quite expensive, luxury item, may use the exclusive distribution or selective distribution. Okay, right. So there are two things that that we want you to analyze in terms of selecting the channel, in terms of placement. The first one is marketing channel strategy, and the second one is distribution coverage strategy. Right, the next one is promotion. Now, promotion, we have 5 tools. advertising, sales promotion, personal selling, public relations, and direct marketing. Okay. So make sure that you analyze them. All right. If the organization that you analyze that doesn't do advertising campaign, for instance, just explain it. Advertising. This is what we mean by advertising, and the company does not run any advertising campaign. Okay, but they do have a public relations campaign, for instance. Then you explain the concept and explain how they do that. Okay, how they do the public relations. Let's say they publish press releases, or they hire someone to write the publicities, and also they organize events. So the press or the journalists will give coverage for them. Okay. Now we come to extended marketing mix. Okay, extended marketing mix includes people, process, and physical evidence. The previous four were labeled as the core marketing mix variables, and the last three in here are basically extended. Okay, scholars suggest that a lot of businesses depend on service in their in supporting their customer service, customer satisfaction. Okay, so therefore they suggest these three components, because these three components, people, process, and physical evidence, drive the deliveries of the customer service that leads to customer satisfaction. Okay, now let's have a look at them one by one. People actually is the human component of the product or service that we offer for the customers. Right, the product or service that we purchase from the organization cannot be excluded from the human aspect. Right, when the organization delivers that service to us. Okay, so if you go to David Jones, for instance, you will have the customer service team. You will have the person who the sales assistant, for instance, helping you. All right, matching your need. For instance, you may ask the sales assistant, "Hey, look, ma'am, could you please find the size that suits me, for instance, right? Or could you please find the black color, for instance?" That is the human aspect that we talk about in here to help us using their product or service. Okay, and then when you agree, you pay the product, right? Someone will help you at the cash register, right? That is part of the human aspect as well. Okay, on top of that, they also include a number of people. All right, a number of people. The store will have a number of people, right, who works to in the merchandising, who works in the logistical function, for instance, placing the order from their suppliers, right, organize the shipment, organize everything in the warehouse until the product is displayed in the selling area. They are the ones that we can find, so they are the ones that we can select as a customer. Okay, so that's people component. Okay, now here we include frontline staff support, the ones that I just explained to you. They also include the customer culture, right? Appearance of the staff, the training, the attitude of the staff as well, and servicing the customers. Okay, some organizations such as Nordstrom, for instance, they have got the strong opinion about customer service, right? As early as the induction period, they train their new staff that if you are within 2 meters of the customers and you don't greet the customers, then you simply don't belong to us. Okay, so that's another thing that you can also consider in terms of analyzing people component, the extended marketing mix variable. Okay, process is another one. Okay, now this involves all systems or management decisions regarding the different stages of customers' service or experience. Okay, so they include the degree of automation, for instance, degree of personalization, payment system, and customer interaction. Again, if you go to David Jones, you place the order, they will process the order for you. That is process that they are going to deliver for you, right? So you can use their product or service, okay? And another example, if you go to Apple Store, for instance, when you're in front of the store, someone will greet you. Uh, Good day, ma'am. How can I help? Well, you explain what you need from the store. Let's say if you need, well, I have some inquiries about an iPad, for instance, for argument's sake. I'm just giving you an illustration. Then that person will punch a few things on the gadget, which is basically an iPad. Okay, punch a few things, and that person may ask you, okay, could you please wait in here, ma'am? Someone will look after you after that. Okay, and someone will come to you. Okay, who needs to discuss about an iPad? Let's say another person will come. Okay, and ask who has questions about an iPad, and you put your hand up. Yes, I do, and then that person will look after you. Okay, so that's the process that I have, right? And then you you decide, yes, I'd like to place the order. I'd like to buy this iPad, for instance. Then they'll process that order as well, right? They punch a few things. Yep. Bring the simple gadget, ma'am. Can you? How are you going to pay for this? Yeah, I'm going to use my credit card, and you show your credit card, and they process that as well. Okay. Do you want to email your receipts, or you want me to print the receipt for you? I'd like to have both of them. Can you please print it, and can you please email it to me? Right? They punch a few things, and you get your receipts in both ways. Okay, so that's the thing. All right, and on top of that, you can also observe the customer interaction, how they make the interaction with you, right, along the process of your journey to become their customer. Okay. Now the last one is the physical evidence. Now remember, the service industry is intangible. Okay, remember we discussed that what is service? We explained that service is basically not, when we purchase a service, it doesn't mean that I will become the owner of the service, because service is intangible. Okay, so a lot of businesses have the intangibility component as well. Okay, intangibility elements in their business. Okay, such as the retail industry, for instance, they have the intangible components as well. Therefore, they try to provide us with the tangible clues or tangible cues for the customers to observe. That is basically symbolizing they deliver something for us. They deliver the service for us. Okay, so this is the cues that the customer may observe during the journey. Okay. They include the tangible and intangible elements. So they include the buildings, for instance, the aesthetic labor, the atmospheric. So, and you can also consider the uniform of the guys of David Jones, right? That is the physical evidence. Okay, and the store logo, David Jones, for instance, the atmosphere in the store, right? The design, the layout of the store. Okay. That's part of the physical evidence as well, okay? And if you look at the Apple Store, for instance, the gadget that these guys use, for instance, to show that they are professional, right? They service you in a way to demonstrate that they support the customers, right? That's another physical evidence as well, okay? So, and the store itself, if you look at the Apple Store, for instance, in the Sydney CBD, for instance, that is not a physical evidence to that they use to convey the customer service as well. Okay, to convey the symbol of that service. Okay. All right. So they are basically the extended marketing mix variables. Okay. Now, look, guys, please make sure you address all tasks. Okay. The next thing is that please do not forget that you also need to outline the conclusion. Now, let me go back to the previous one, the conclusion. And again, in terms of conclusion, make sure that your conclusion is related to your key findings. Okay. Your key findings are based on what you analyzed. What do you analyze? Well, what is the purpose of your analysis? Your purpose is about the segmentation, targeting, positioning, and marketing mix variables. So your conclusion should be around these areas. All right. I noticed that some people, when some people write the conclusion which are not related to the analysis. The analysis about something, and suddenly the conclusion is about, yes, this company is successful. Their market share is that much. All right, full stop. Okay, why is it related to the analysis? Okay, so you got to explain that. Okay, so please go back to the key points of your segmentation, targeting, positioning, and marketing mix variables for your conclusion. Okay, and then presentation aspects. Now this one is critical as well, right? Because will be marked as well based on our presentation aspect. Okay? Please make sure you write, you use a formal business structure. So you have the title page, the table of contents, right? Headings, okay? And please also use diagrams. The positioning map that I just explained to you, that we just discussed before, gave you an opportunity to visualize, to use visuals, right? To use diagram to support your argument, okay? And make sure that we are free of, our text is free of, typing errors, for instance. Okay, we use a formal business structure. Okay, not using a conversational language style. Okay, and referencing. Make sure we use a Harvard referencing style. Now, here we need to use. We need to show in-text references as well as reference lists. Okay. The in-text references and reference list must be aligned, right? If you use sources, if you show sources A, B, C, D in your reference list, right? Then these A, B, C, D should appear in your in-text references, okay? Now, in fact, in terms of referencing, make sure all citations have got the in-text references. Let's say if you outline the facts about the company was founded in 1822, for instance, right? Or 1850, for instance, okay? Then you got to reference it, right? Because we source it from a citation. We got it from some sources, right? It is not generally known, okay? Right. So basically, they're the ones that I'd like to discuss with you guys to help you with your second assessment, okay? And if you have any questions, again, please make sure that you email me, and I look forward to it. And good luck, guys. Thank you.